Well, each week, as listeners know, we take students out and have them share their faith. And we try to do that on a college campus. Sometimes that's not possible, as is in the case of our Phoenix camp and our San Diego camp. And so we used the downtown area in Phoenix.
Which is approximately 422 degrees in the summertime.
Yes, yeah, just about that, in the shade. Yes, and so it was just brutal. And then in San Diego, we go to the park area,
Balboa Park.
Balboa Park, which was the site of a World's Fair, and thus they have beautiful landscaping. They have beautiful buildings that they've converted,
and it's also where Rocky Balboa parked his car. I think that's where it gets the name, right?
When he ran up the steps to the...
it was a long run.
Yeah, because
to get to
Philadelphia. Yeah.
Art Museum, yeah. Yeah. It's named after Rocky Balboa, right?
No. Yeah, because Rocky Balboa was the Spanish explorer that came out from Mexico.
Exactly.
I know Sylvester Stallone was related to him.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm making the connections now.
It's pretty cool.
It is. Yeah. So... I'll tell the Balboa Park one because we take
this is the one I said was long.
Yeah, but I'm going to make it longer. So we take students out and we have them share their faith. And Balboa Park is a beautiful area. There's a big promenade, and there are vendors who are supposed to be nonprofit vendors, and they have booths. And one of them was a tarot card reader, and the tarot card reader was pretty hostile to some of our students. She was very belligerent, used very, very crude language. And so most of our students, when they walked up, they were chased away pretty quickly. And so I went to our college staff, the guy who was going to do the evangelism debrief later. I said, Danny, I'm going to set you up, but you need a story for debrief. And this is your story, but I'm going to tell you I'm going to set you up. I want you to go over and stand next to the booth where the tarot card reader is. Don't look at her, just stand next to the booth. She will start chanting incantations out loud. When she does this, I want you to turn to her and say, "Are you speaking to me?" And I say, I want you to see what happens, what transpires. And I'm pretty sure I know what's going to transpire.
Now, at this point, you did not know that she had assaulted someone previously.
No, I did not know that. We'd had trouble 2 years prior to this when we were there with a different tarot card reader. And she had done the same thing that was about to transpire here. So I went over and I bought an ice cream cone. I'm eating my ice cream cone, just licking my cone and having a good time, talking to the ice cream cone vendor. And I get a call. Said that the tarot card reader had called the park service. And the park service was there, and they were reading the riot act to Danny and another one of our college guys, Huck. So I saunter down there, and by the time I get there, the park service guy is accusing our guys of basically disturbing the peace. And I walk up, introduce myself, and he says, so you're in charge, and you have an ulterior motive. I said, well, yeah, we want to go out and talk to people. And he said, well, you're not telling me the full story after Danny explained what had happened, how the tarot card reader got very belligerent, that he didn't do anything except ask her if he was talking to her. She was talking to him. And he said, well, you're not telling me the whole truth. And I said, so you're accusing us of being liars. And I said, there's three of us, one of her, and you're accusing us of being liars. And I continued to eat my ice cream cone. Well, he said, well, you guys want to be peacekeepers, don't you?
That's a great line.
Isn't that a great line?
Yeah.
And I said, no, we want to exercise our First Amendment liberties and talk to people. And he said, but you want to be peacekeepers. I said, no. and I was later able to talk to the students and to our college staff that represents the highest goal of the secular world. Of the world's highest goal is peace. But
right, tolerance, right?
Yeah.
The whole idea of tolerating whatever position somebody stakes out.
Yes. Peace, peace, they cry, but there is no peace. I said, by contrast, the Christian's highest goal is truth. And so no matter how lovingly you go out and speak the truth, it always disturbs their peace. And when you disturb their peace, they try to shut you up. They try to stop you. They try to kill you. And that's what they did with Jesus. And so it was an opportunity for me to explain that to them. And during the course of the conversation with the park ranger, he was trying to play bad cop. And he said he let it slip that the tarot card reader had lost her vendor's license for 2 years because she hit someone over the head with a skateboard.
That is amazing.
So he's trying to get us to back off, to shut up, to leave the park, because he wants to keep the peace with this lady.
Yeah, and she's all about peace, obviously.
Oh, obviously, yes. So it turned out, that we said, well, we're not going to leave. We're going to continue doing what we're doing. And in fact, the Greenpeace people were there. They were soliciting too. They had a booth. They had a right to be there. And we had witnessed to them. So I called one of the Greenpeace guys over. I said, come talk to this park ranger, and I want you to tell him, what we're doing and how you were approached. And
I got to tell you, I'm sorry, but I'm picturing the Greenpeace guy dressed in a whale costume. Sorry, I don't know why, but okay, go ahead.
Because they were out trying to save the whales. That's
exactly.
what they were doing. They were soliciting funds. And what was amazing is the Greenpeace guy came right over without any prompting. He said to the park ranger, he said, these guys are cool. He said, that lady's nuts. And so the park ranger had to back off. And what he was trying to do was to get the Christians to cave.
Yeah.
Get Christians to say, oh, yeah, we want to keep the peace.
Right.
Therefore, we won't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And that's the danger of our culture, the Christian community. The Christian community wants to be liked.
Well, and we want to be nice.
And
We've talked about that before, too.
That's
and
right.
Yeah, sometimes you don't get to be nice. Sometimes you just got to tell it like it is.
Yeah, and the park ranger turned and he said, you're familiar with a 413. And my first thought was, no, it's about 425. I don't know what that means. But I said, no, I have no idea what that means. He said, well, it's disturbing the peace. I said, are you accusing us of disturbing the peace? He said, well, there's a fine line. And the man who wears the badge determines the line.
Ooh.
To which I responded, no, sir. The law determines the line, not the man wearing the badge.
Amen.
We're not stopping.
Amen.
And he had to back off.
Yeah.
But it was bluff, and it was all for the sake of keeping his personal peace. He didn't want the hassle of having to deal with the crazy tarot card reader who had called him in the first place.
Right. And is this the one where then a gal was crying about the tarot card reader?
Yeah, one of the first groups that went up and talked to her, she was very rude, used very gross language with them, and basically told them to go away. And so they did, and I saw them leave her booth, and I was standing there, and they came over to me, and this girl was crying, Riley. She was crying, and I said, now, why are you crying? Are you crying because you got your feelings hurt? She said, no. I said, then why are you crying? She said, because she's so lost. And then later, because of that incident, later that evening, during debrief, the gospel was given, and Riley trusted Christ.
Wow.
She came to realize that she did not have a relationship with Jesus. And as a result, God used a pagan tarot card reader to draw Riley to himself.
Amen. Amen.
So God's economy is not man's economy.
And that is just one snapshot of all